Hey my friends, it's Brad the Bearded Piper, and I hope you all are having a great day. Well, clock on the wall just turned to midnight, so that means it is Thanksgiving 2023, and my wife and the dogs are all snuggled up and sound asleep in the house, and I am out here in the office enjoying a new to me blend, which is New Minster number 306 English Orient in this Northern Briars bent bulldog. It's a big pipe that came from my friend Bill's estate, and it's also the only pipe that I have dedicated to any blends, and that is English and Balkans, because that's what Bill enjoyed out of this pipe as well. So but I'm not going to get into the blend. I'm going to tell you it is good, and I'm going to tell you there is a slight difference between it and the Peter Stokeby number 306. This is the number 306 English Orient from New Minster, and the Stokeby's is a number 306, and I believe it's called an English Orient Supreme. There are a couple different tobaccos in it, but I will get into that some other day when I talk about the blend in of itself. But today I'm going to talk about Thanksgiving, right? So here in the United States, the fourth Thursday of November, we celebrate Thanksgiving. And I'm not going to get into the history of it or any of that stuff. I'm just going to tell you what I think Thanksgiving is. In my opinion, Thanksgiving is when we gather with family and friends, and we look back at the last year or our lives, and we give thanks for the positive things that we have in our life. But if you know me, my brain doesn't always work the same way that everybody else's brain works. So this year, instead of saying thank you for the positive things in my life, I want to give thanks to all the negative things in my life, right? I've always been my glass is half full, and thank you very much for what you've given me in this glass. I'm that much of an optimist. Or we have a friend that's such a pessimist that she'll say, hey, this glass is half empty. The glass is dirty. I don't like what's in it. I didn't ask you for it, and what do you want in return? Because she's that big of a pessimist. But that's not me. I'm an eternal optimist. But this year, on Thanksgiving, I'm going to say life is like a battery, right? A battery is a box of stored energy, and it doesn't work unless you connect the positive side and the negative side to something, okay? So you gotta look at the negatives, because your life doesn't work if it's all positive. You gotta have some negatives in there too, and you gotta give thanks for those negatives. And these are the negatives that I'm gonna give thanks for this year. Number one, I wanna say thank you to the girl who broke up with me my sophomore year in college. Yeah, that's a long time ago. It's 31 years ago, to be exact. And we had dated from our senior year in high school, and she broke up with me, and she crushed me. She ripped my heart out of the chest, and she threw it on the sidewalk, and she stomped all over it, and I was devastated. I thought that relationship was gonna last to the end of time, and I thought I was never, ever gonna recover from that. But fortunately, I had some really good friends that night took me under their wing. Actually, it was the next night. Took me under their wing, and we went and we had fun and we did things. And guess what? It wasn't as hard a couple days later. And then a week later, my wife asked me on a date. And if it wasn't for that girl stomping my heart to death, my wife revived it, right? I got to go out to dinner, and Monday the 27th of this year will be the 31st anniversary of Dawn and I's first date. And, I had my heart ripped out, and I found my true love, my soulmate, my best friend, because of that negative experience. So thank you. Thank you for crushing me, because boy, I'll tell you what, it led me down the last 31 years of just a lot of enjoyment. Thank you to the bank that hired me right out of college and then said, hey, we're hiring you for this accountant position. When the guy retires, we're going to move you into his position. And then the guy retires and they say, oh, you know what? You got to have 12 months with the bank, Brad, before we can promote you. So instead, we're just going to hire that person from outside of the company to come in and do this job. So that meant that I left the bank because there was no place for me to go, because the accounting department was now full of young people. And I got a job in a warehouse. And I was picking orders in the worst shift in the world, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. in an air-conditioned warehouse, and you were going in and outside in the rain and everything else. And I did that for 3 months, and then I got promoted to outside sales. So thank you to that bank for crushing my dreams to be an accountant, because then I found my passion in outside sales. Thank you to the next company that I worked for deciding, you know what, hey, we aren't going to have outside sales reps anymore. So you lose your position, you get to keep a job, but we're going to take all of your commissions away from you, all of your expenses away from you, and we're going to make your life financially difficult to the point that you're going to work from 7 to 5 here, and then you're going to drive half an hour towards home, and then you're going to work from 6 until 11 at a Sheetz gas station, go home, shower, and get up and do it all over the next day because of the financial hardship. And you're going to do this for close to a year before you find another job in outside sales. And when I did, that position led me to the coal industry, and I called on the coal industry for 20 plus years, and I loved those guys. I loved the job. I made a successful career out of it. It was great. But I want to thank that company for saying, hey, Brad, we're going to pay for you to go back and get your master's degree. And then when you turn in your first bill and your first report card, and they say, oh, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. Nope. So that means I'm stuck with a giant loans payment if I finish the master's degree, or I quit with a big payment after one semester. I'm not a quitter, so I continued on. But that meant I wasn't locked into that company for 5 years. So I was able to leave when I finished my master's degree and go work for my largest customer. And that was wonderful. I doubled my salary. And then after I doubled my salary, 8 years into it, thank you to our parent company for selling 5 of your largest coal mines to our competitor. Because when you did that, that was the death sentence of the company, that the portion of the company that I worked for, because they lost almost all of their big sales. And when that happened, I saw the writing on the wall, and I was able to jump ship before it sank, and it did sink, and go to work for the next company. And at that company, guess what? I made more money there too. And again, I called on the coal industry, and I made a lot of friends, and I was very, very successful. Now, I'm not going to say thank you to COVID, but I am going to say thank you to the management of that company for saying, you know what, hey, we're going to furlough you. Even though you're one of our top sales reps, and that guy on the desk next to you, he's only been here for 3 months. You've been here for 5 years, but we're going to furlough you anyway, because your branch manager thinks you need to spend more time in the office and not out on the road, which is where outside sales reps are supposed to be. So I got furloughed, and that stunk. But I also started my own business because of it. And I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about my own personal drive, and was able to improve myself. And the business went great, and the business went wonderful. And then my largest customer yanked the chain out from underneath me when their corporate office said, hey, you're not allowed to use contractors anymore. So thank you to them, because that led to more hardship, and that hardship led me to the company that I work for today. A company that cares enough about their employees that they actually, we saw the robot when we did a plant tour last week. There was a woman that worked in one of our factories, and she had worked there for years, and they knew that they could put a robotic arm in doing her position that would do it faster, less mistakes, more efficient, and less bodily harm from doing the same repetitive motion all the time. But they built the robot, and then this woman decided that she wasn't going to retire. So they put the robot in a closet, and that robot stayed there until she did decide to retire. And when she retired, they put the robot in her position, because they were not going to take her job away from her. When she was done, they weren't going to replace her, because there was a better way of doing it, and plus nobody really wanted to do it anyway. But they didn't take her job away from her. Now, all of these things that I'm just saying, oh, yeah, and that, because of that job, that led me to having to build this office. So I had a nice, quiet, warm place to be able to do the office work that I do need to do from home. So now I have a great place to come and talk to you. It's raining and cold outside, and I'm out here enjoying this pipe. And all of that stuff happened. All of those things happened because of the negatives, right? Life is like a battery. The positive things don't work unless there's a negative charge to it as well. You know, you gotta have a positive and you gotta have a negative. It's what makes life go round. So that's it, my friends. So a little bit rambly, a little bit philosophical, and a little bit, I don't know, me. So until we talk again, I hope you all have a very, very happy Thanksgiving weekend. And life is good, but it is better with a pipe.